Toro Time Masters. The man said that when it ran out of gas, he refueled it and would not restart after that. So I'm assuming he tried to do what he could to get it started. And but when I took the cover off and air filter off so I could just dump a little gas in there, because I know I got spark. My spark plug is working. So I know I'm getting air, and so it feels like it has compression. Only thing that I figure is missing is fuel. For some reason is not getting to the motor. So I took this off so I could just squirt a little bit down there and see if it fires off. And this is what I found with the air filter. And when you look down on the inside, it's kind of an imprint of that bolt. And if you look real careful, I don't know if you guys can see it right along there where my thumb is pointing, you can see an imprint of this. So somebody stuck it back on, tightened everything down, because I thought it was kind of odd that this screw, the screw on the cover, was tough to unscrew all the way. And I thought that was weird. And when I got it apart, I seen why. So I got another air filter. I'll get that installed. And this was a brand new air filter for this season, and used it one time. So I got to figure out why it was running just fine until it ran out of fuel, and then you put fuel in it. So the other thing that I could think of also is that maybe he got a hold of some bad fuel and has water in it or something. So I asked him, is this fresh fuel from this year? Because I didn't know if it's still using old fuel from last year or something. He said yes, it's fresh fuel from this year. So I'm gonna squirt a little bit of fuel down in there. Alright, so that tells me it's not getting fuel. So now I got to disassemble the carb and find out why. Alright, so I got to figure out why. Either there's water in it, or it's just not getting fuel to it. So I am going to put a new filter on it. Here's a new filter I'm going to put on it. So he's got his own little stash I'll keep in the corner there. I wonder if that was all that was wrong with it. Seemed like the choke was hung up just a little bit for some reason. Because it was running fine, according to him. And this was gapped open a little bit. Let's roll this over on its side. See if it'll fire up on its own. Probably won't, but let's see. Oh boy. So that was probably just the residue fuel left over. Yep. That's not the problem. The choke is working like it's supposed to. So fuel is flowing. I think I also want to get Probably get a fuel sample. Just to make sure there's no water in it. Oh, that didn't smell too fuely. Alright, found myself a little glass jar here. I'll try to get me a fuel sample. I'm also going to look inside. Oh well, looks like there's something in there, but can't quite tell. I don't know. I'm not sure if it smells like gas or not. Let's see if we can just pull this fuel bowl off. I don't smell anything. Fuel bowl had plenty of liquid in it. Not convinced it's fuel. The jet is clean. That sample I got is like really super duper clear. Doesn't really smell much like fuel. My hands don't smell like fuel and I just got covered with it. This fuel bowl does not smell like fuel, so I'm thinking it's just got some bad fuel in there. So when you're doing a diagnostics, you want to take in consideration of what the customer says, but don't take it 100%. And the reason is sometimes you don't get the whole story and you sit there and spend hours trying to figure something out. So what I ended up doing, I took it in consideration of what the customer said, but I still checked for spark. I made sure my spark plug was still good, made sure it sparked, and started taking things apart to make sure everything looked fine, and worked my way to the fuel being a fuel issue, whether it was the fuel itself or being delivered by the carburetor, one or the other. So this fuel bowl is pretty daggone clean. When I pulled my fuel sample, it didn't smell much like fuel, and the fuel bowl doesn't smell much like fuel, even though there's a liquid in it. It wasn't pulling it up, or if it was pulling it up, it just isn't fuel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drain this out, and I know I got good fresh fuel here, and I'm going to pour that in there and we're going to see what happens. Got me a little old milk jug, another length of hose. There's one thing I want to do before I let that drain all the way out. I'm going to hook it back up to the carb and let it run through that float. Everything seems to be operating there. Doesn't look like I got any plugs I think we're good there. We'll finish letting this drain out. Just a little trick I figured out over the years. Tiny bit of pressure in the fuel tank by sealing it off with your hand helps push that fuel out a little quicker. There we go. All drained out. Didn't have to wait too long. Take my flashlight, look inside here again. I think I ran across this one other time with one of his mowers. Looks pretty clean in there now. We'll get this hooked back up. Get some fresh fuel in it, and I'll bring you back in a minute. All right. Putting some good fuel in here. I'm not going to fill it up all the way yet. And got the fuel bowl put back on. The new fuel filter's in, and fuel line's all hooked up. So before I put it completely back together, we'll try to start this thing and see what happens. It's amazing. Just the simplest little thing. The it's got to have fuel, got to have good clean fuel, and as far as I know, they haven't made any hydro mowers yet. So no, that good got that old fuel out of there. That was my suspicion. I'll let the customer know he needs to check his fuel can and maybe go somewhere else to get fuel. And I'll finish filling that tank up for him and send him on his way. So that's how we figured out what was wrong with this mower. Our steps that we went through, we took it in consideration of what the customer said, but we still started off at with our basics, right? So I made sure we had spark from the coil. The coil was performing fine. I made sure the spark plug that was in it was good and performing fine, and it was. And so then I started working my way around to the carb and the fuel system, and turned out to be the fuel system, or the fuel that was in it, I mean, and which then I did not have to pull the carb off and take the time on going through it and looking at it. I just pulled the bowl off to take a look inside, got a fuel sample from it, flushed the fuel bowl out also, or the carb out, and it did not smell like fuel. So we got that all drained out, got fresh fuel in it, fired up on what, second pull. I'm going to do a restart. Let's see what happens. I think we got it. That's all it was, just bad fuel. Hope you like the content. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe, leave me some comments, let me know what you think. Be kind and help people when you can.